Today, I bring you something new, and I promised Rose Quill, the author of this story, that I'd do this at one point. She recommended it, and I've been meaning to get to it for quite some time, but in the phase of moving out, or trying to move out, I've not really had much time on my hands. So, this one's called Old-Fashioned Love. This chapter's called Rituals. I sat in the tree, staring out at the best view of the farm. The rolling hills of our farm were backlit by the setting sun. There was something peaceful about the sight, something giving me a bit of comfort in the knowledge of something unchanging and immutable in life. I heard the rustle below me. I knew the cause without having to look. Apple Bloom stuck her head into the opening and stared at the sinking orb with me. No words were needed, not for this. We had done this almost daily after a good hard day's work since we were young. Something of an apple sister's ritual. She broke the silence first. So, is it true? What's that? I replied absently. What you and Rainbow Dash are doing, she said, glancing up. Scoots told me. I smiled. Well, that bit is true, I said. Scoot lives like a little sister to Dash, and it's important to her, and that makes it important to me. I reached down and ruffled her red hair affectionately. But sponsoring her for college? Do you have any idea what that means for her? I got a fair few, I said. She's got a lot of potential and deserves a chance to prove it. I was glad to write her a recommendation letter, just as glad as I was to write yours. She gazed at me, tears in her eyes. I love you, sis. I love you too, AB, I said, accepting a hug as she climbed to sit next to me. Silence reigned for a few moments. So, if you and Dash are getting married, she asked, does that mean Scoots and I will be sisters? I laughed, squeezing her a little. You mean you don't think you are already? I teased. You can't sweet a belly, and the three you just might as well have joined up at the hip. I can't remember a day when you three went tearing through the orchard playing together. I know she thinks of you as a sister, as a matter of fact, a raspy voice said from above. I looked up to see Rainbow Dash hovering above us, her sky blue wings spread to their full width. She was dressed as she usually was, baggy tee over a pair of athletic shorts and sneakers. Somehow, she made it look sexy, but I'll never admit to it. You mean it? AB asked. She was used to Dash showing up with wings. Heck, after the fall formal, we haven't kept any secrets about having magic from the family. Too dangerous, I remember thinking. Would I lie? The athlete asked, flashing her brilliant smile. Yes, I stage whispered, gaining a giggle from my sister and a fake scowl from my girlfriend. Never about this, she said with sincerity that made a more consistent appearance over the last few years. Matter of fact, she asked me to come over and tell you she and Sweetabelle are waiting you over at the sweet shop. Something about a master plan? Apple Bloom gasped and started to scramble down the tree. I'm gonna be late, she cried. Dash? I asked, conversationally. On it, she said, swooping down and grabbing my little sister and zooming off, leaving a rainbow contrail. I went back to watching the last few rays of the sun sink behind the hills. Things were as they should be, and life held simple meaning within the boundaries of Sweet Apple Acres. I was meandering back to the house when a pair of arms wrapped around my waist. You're awful quiet today, she said, her tone serious. You doing okay? I nodded, leaning back into her embrace. It's always tough this time of year, I said, taking solace in their presence. I can still hear their voices, Dash. It's like it was just yesterday instead of 10 years ago. She held me close. Her voice was slightly different when we were to get alone together. Softer, more considerate. I know how you feel, AJ, she said, pressing her head against my back. But at least you can still remember your folks. I don't really have any memories of Mum. I can't imagine how that feels, Dash, I said, turning slightly and letting her slide into my embrace without losing any tightness of hers. Can I meet them? She whispered. Say what now? I mean, I know I can't actually meet them, she said, a nervous blush working onto her face. But sometimes, When Dad and I visit family in Cloudsdale, I stop by Mum's grave and just talk. I like to think she's listening, and I hope she's proud of me. I smiled and kissed the crown of her head. I'm sure she is, Dash. You done good things since you moved here, both here and in the other world. I saw a distant look on her face, and I had a flash of inspiration. I took her hand and started walking briskly. Dash's face worked into a frown as I headed for a part of the farm she had never visited before. Where are we going? I smiled. To introduce you to my folks. I stood off to the side, letting Dash have some privacy as she spoke over the graves of my parents. I didn't want to intrude on this moment of hers. A personal ritual of hers that I didn't understand, but knew it was important to her. And like I had said earlier, if it was important to her, it was important to me. She came back over to me a few minutes later, wrapped me in a hug, her soft side on display. Thanks, she whispered. Anything for you, Ace, I said. And there we stood, under the moon, just the two of us, enjoying the silence before we headed inside. I laid in bed that night, Dash's soft breathing peaceful and soothing beside me. I stared at the ceiling and closed my eyes. Mom, Dad, I don't know if you can hear me, but I sure do miss you. I hope you're proud of your little girl. I know I ain't always been the best of children, but I try my best, like you told me. I looked at my sleeping girlfriend for a moment. Dash is a great gal. I never thought I'd fall for a gal like her, but I have. I hope you didn't mind her introducing herself. If she doesn't mind, I'm thinking about asking her to marry me. Someday, that is. We're still awful young for that, I think. I love you both.